So in the Allegro, we have something very different. As lyrical and slow as the first movement, the Adagio is, this movement has to be very bouncy, jaunty. Notice I haven't said short or staccato. We want to be very careful about making notes too clipped, too staccato, and with an ugly sound in the Baroque or any other era for that matter. But basically, this is a fugue, and we have a compound melody right off the bat. We're going to talk about some practice techniques in the middle in a minute. But what I wanted to just really drive home is this. In a fast movement in the Baroque period, we want to keep your eighth notes on the round and bouncy side. For instance, as opposed to this. Okay, that's a little bit too legato, and it doesn't have much energy or even motion. In fact, it's kind of static. To contrast, though, we want to make sure our 16th notes in this movement, if you know any violin players, we keep them on the string. So instead of yada da 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 da, it yada dee da dee da dee da, very lyrical, very legato. It will sound fast enough. Again, so eighths are bouncy, buoyant, round, and always with forward momentum, but not staccato. And contrasting, the shorter notes, the 16th notes, are the legato ones. So let me demonstrate two little parts of this. Versus so that you'll really hear the contrast, and your fingers will appreciate it if we don't make the 16ths too short. Okay, I'm going to give a practice performance of the excerpt that's required for KMEA, and then we'll talk about some practice techniques. That's what they require for district. Let's get to some practice techniques. How can we make one note repeated, namely the C's, how can we make that lead to the B? Something easy to do would just be get your C to bounce first. Let's not worry about how many there are, but just play some bouncy C's. So again, we want to avoid this. But I just think 1, 2, 3, 1, or 2, 3, 4, 1, something like that. And each one has a little bit increasing dynamic and a little bit more energy. As I said in the Adagio movement, if you use vibrato, you can use vibrato on eighth notes. It is possible, and that may help you propel them over the bar line. Also something fun. Did you notice that this compound melody is actually comprised of a little part of the chromatic scale if you look at the upper voice? And then he goes back up. It's really quite cool. So if you can bring out those notes, it will help you make a structure and tell a story with what you're doing. Let's talk about the 16ths for a minute. A little bit of a finger twister. Some we use regular F on, some we use forked F. If you're lucky enough and you have an oboe that has a left F, you can incorporate that too. But something about 16th notes, I like to build myself a bridge. So I'm going to play not 8 notes at one time, 8 notes are under the slur, but I'm going to play 9 notes so I can always build a bridge to the next level. That way I don't get hiccups in my 16th notes run. So it'll sound something like this. Always go to the next group. seamless. You want to avoid coming away at the end of each group like this. It's just too hiccupy. Etc. So if you can keep that in mind, bouncy eighths with energy, lyrical sustained sixteenths. I think you'll have an easier time making it through this beautiful Allegro movement. Something else that's kind of cool, if you took the Adagio at eighth note equals 86, for example, the nice thing is you could take exactly double that. Now this becomes the new quarter note for the Allegro, and you only have to think about one tempo. It works at both for both movements. So have fun preparing this Allegro.